2023 is officially here and among us. And with that comes new real estate opportunities for the year. But before you step into what this year will look like, it's really important to reflect back and see what 2022 as a whole looked like, especially now that we have all the data points. It's also important to really understand what this all means too, because there's so much information and data and clickbait headlines that are out there that only tell really just a small inch of the story, the tip of the iceberg. So what I want to do is just break down four important data points that I look at, and not just the Chicagoland from a micro standpoint area. I actually opened up and zoomed out the data to the state of Illinois, because a little bit more macro, a little bit wider data field gets us more information. So there's four important stats I always look at: closed sales, inventory of homes, days on market, and then median sales price. When you look at the annual closed sales, last year we ended with just over 160,000 homes traded. Now, if you looked at it year over year comparison, it would show that that was down, closed sales were down 17%. Now, while that's true, you have to dig deeper into that information. 2021 was a record high year, right? So was the first quarter of 2022. We were coming out of the pandemic, everyone was moving, interest rates were at an all-time low. So there was a lot of activity in the real estate market. So while 2022 compared to 2021 was down 17%, I don't know if that's a fair and accurate comparison. That'd be like me comparing my weight today to my 16-year-old high school self that actually had a metabolism that worked. Spoiler alert, I was a lot lighter back then. Not fair to compare, right? But if we look back to 2019, before the pandemic, the pre-pandemic market, we actually see that there were about 157,000 units traded and sold at that point. So compared to 2019, we're still up by a little bit. And 2019, if you remember, was a little bit of a shifting market, starting to shift and head towards a buyer's market, right? I think that's a fair comparison. So right now, that activity, the units that trade in 2022 was still a healthy and normal amount. It just seemed, because everything was front loaded in Q1, that the market had crashed in the third and fourth quarters especially. Now let's move on. Inventory, right? We ended the year, year over year, 2022 compared to 2021, down almost 10%, 9.7% in inventory to be exact. That still holds true even if you look at 2019. If you look back the past 5 years, we're in inventory is actually down almost 57%. And that's true. There's more buyers, right? Demand is outpacing supply right now. And especially with interest rates creeping up, there's less people coming onto the market. Average days on market, that's the third stat I always like to look at. 2022 compared to 2021, the average days in market went from 33 days to 28. It went down 15%. If you look at the 5 years comparison, we're down almost 50%, from 55 days on the market in 2017 to 28 days in 2022. Why is that? Once again, that dovetails with the last stat we just talked about, inventory being down, right? When demand is outpacing supply, homes are going to sell quicker. That's still to be said in this high interest rate market, right? Sellers, you still don't have as much competition because there's not as much inventory out there. The final piece, which is the one that everyone cares about, right? Whether you're buyer, seller, and even the media, annual median sales price. How much are homes trading for? 2021 compared to 2022, the average median sales price ended at $260,000 for the state. That's up 4%. Even if we zoomed in on the data and looked at just Chicago, the metro area, you would see prices were up roughly about 2%, right? Once again, going back to supply and demand, supply, right? Demand is outpacing the supply. So homes are trading quicker, right? 15% down 28 days compared to last year, 2022 or 2021. Prices have gone up. Sure, a lot of that was front loaded when the Q1 and spring market, when we saw a lot of competition, multiple offers, but overall prices still stayed steady, not rising as rapidly as that Q1 in 2021 market, but still increasing at a steady pace. What does all this mean if you're a buyer and seller? Sellers, the sky isn't falling because rates have gone up. Yes, home ownership cost has gone up a little bit. However, people are still looking to move. Rents are at an all-time high, right? There's less inventory, less options for buyers right now. So it's still an opportune time. Are we going to see hundreds of people lined up outside your door for an open house or for showings like we did in the spring of last year? Probably not. Some properties may get that. We probably may not see as many multiple offers and people asking, going over asking price on their offers in those competitive situations, right? There's always exceptions to the rule. Some properties will have that. But for the most part, though, it's still going to stay active at a normal pace, right? Just like what we saw pre-pandemic markets. Buyers, yes, your affordability has gone up a little bit with the interest rates. With that being said, like I mentioned before, you don't have as much competition. There's not as many buyers that are out there that you're competing against on that home and property that you like the stories you heard from the spring of 2022. So you can take your time, make an educated decision, and really hone in on your home's value when you're working with your realtor and negotiating. The other piece of that is, like I mentioned, anyone that's looking to graduate out of being a tenant and into home ownership, with rental rates and prices continuing to rise at a rapid pace, home affordability index still leans in favor of owning a home, right? It's cheaper to own a home in most cases than it is to rent, especially when we're talking about downtown Class A luxury rental properties. I hope this information helps you. If you have any questions about any of the data or just the real estate market in Chicago, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Weinberg Choi residential team. Thanks a lot and have a great 2023.